Welcome, everyone. We are live this lovely Tuesday. Yes, yes, it is. Bear witness. On Twitter, I called it Gotta See What You've Done. You see that imaginal scene that you create in your mind's eye? That imaginal scene is your clue for yourself when your harvest comes in, which means when the thing that you've created has come to fruition in your physical experience, you will do that thing that you rehearsed. So it's your clue. Because remember, Neville says our memories are short and we don't always remember what we've planted. We don't always remember what we've planted at all. But you see that imaginal act? Even though that imaginal act is there for us because we're creating it to tell ourselves, hey, this is what we're doing, it's also your clue for when you see your harvest, meaning your experience that you wanted to have, when it's there physically, you will do the thing that you rehearsed. Now, if you were here last night, the woman in the lecture, she wanted to see her brother. She wanted him released from his punishment of hard labor in the army. So she went home, and night after night, she would imagine herself running down the stairs and flinging open the door. Every night, she would rehearse in her mind's eye because she knew the staircase and she knew it well. She would run down the stairs and fling open the door. That's the only thing she rehearsed in her mind's eye, over and over and over again. Until one day she heard the doorbell ring. She ran down those stairs that she had rehearsed mentally and flung open the door. So you see, we tend to have short memories and we forget what we've planted and we forget the harvest. And we look at it and go, I didn't do that. That's not me. You see, that's when we are unwittingly living. When we are deliberately living, we are choosing the action that we are going to do in the physical that we have already experienced in our imagination. And that is your clue that, hey, this is happening right now. And while it is happening, you may clue in and catch it. Or when it's done, you may go, oh, shoot, it just happened. But the whole point is that imaginal act is twofold. Two things. You're using it to tell yourself what you have deliberately planted. And the second thing is you're using it as a trigger so you can see what you've planted. And it will jog your memory. Oh, right. This is my harvest. I did plant this, didn't I? So you see, it's serving you two purposes. Because what we tend to do when we make that imaginal scene that Neville suggests that we make, when we don't see it happening just yet on the outside, what do we do? Oh, it's not happening. It's not going to work. And we begin to doubt. Remember this: the imaginal act, what we experience in imagination as though we were going to do that same thing in reality. I told you yesterday that imaginal act is real. Oh, remember the story about adultery? If you commit adultery, if a man should lust after a woman in his heart, he's already done it. Why? Because as soon as you contemplate the thing, as soon as you get in there and you create the scene, there is an impulse that follows the thing that you've created in your mind's eye. The impulse is telling you it is real. So that's why the act inside your imagination is the real thing. It's the real thing. And even though you don't, or I don't see it on the outside just yet, it doesn't mean it is not coming. That's not what it means. What does it say in Habakkuk 2, verse 3? Or is it 3, verse 2? It says, everything has its appointed hour. If it be long, wait, because it shall not be late. If it is long, wait. Just wait. Because what you're doing with that thing, that image in your mind's eye that you are seeing and imagining, it is real to you. It should be real to you. Why? Because you should believe in your imaginal acts. You're the one creating, right? And I was talking to a friend yesterday, and those words, belief and faith, oh boy, they're so tainted. But think about what a creator does. When the potter sits down at that wheel and he has the clay, he slaps the clay on the wheel. He doesn't believe and he doesn't have faith, you know. He knows what he's making. Why does he know what he's making? Because the image is in his mind. So he knows what he's making. The seamstress, she knows what she's making when she sees that dress in her mind's eye. It's not fake to her. She doesn't have to believe it or have faith in it. She knows what she's making. The tailor, the suit that is in his mind's eye, he doesn't believe that it's real. He doesn't have faith that it's real. He knows that it is real. And because it is real, inevitably, he must recreate it from his mind's eye. But we use words like faith and belief to show us the step in between, to show us what we're doing. The thing that is in your mind's eye is showing you what you're going to do in the physical. It is bearing witness. So when you have this thing in your mind's eye and you see it in your imagination, that's not your cue to say, that's not real. Whose imagination is it? It is your imagination. And because it is your imagination, do you know or do you not know what you are creating? But that's the thing. We doubt our very own selves. Fancy that, eh? We doubt our very own selves. Talking about, I need a sign, Lord. Show me a sign. Signs follow. Why do they follow? Because they show you what you have within. A sign is the evidence of what you have within. So how are you going to see the sign first? When the sign is the shadow cast by the thing on the inside, your imaginal act. So the imaginal act must be there first. As within, so without. We are constantly seeing the contents of our own mind. But because we have fancy words that we use, like, well, I didn't know I could manifest. I didn't know I could manifest. You see these fancy words? Oh, yeah, but it's in the quantum realm. Fancy words. When in actuality, what it means is, what is the image that you hold within your mind's eye? Are you faithful to that image you are holding in your mind's eye? Because if you are faithful to that image you're holding in your mind's eye, well, then it is inevitable that it show up. on the outside. Why is it inevitable? Because we must always bear witness to the contents of our own minds. What is on the inside appears to be invisible. It's not invisible to you because it's your mind, but it's invisible to me because I don't see your mind until that thing that you persist in seeing shows up. Then I can look at it and go, oh my God, that's what you were doing. That is what it does. So when you have an imaginal act that you've got going on in your mind's eye, what is it? Is it worthy of you? Oh, not are you worthy of it? You're the creator. What you create, well, you're the one giving it life. So this thing that you're going to give life to, is it worthy? Is it good enough for you to give life to? Meaning, is it going to serve you now? Meaning, what type of imaginal act is it? Is it one that is beautiful, or as Neville says, that is lovely? Or are you sitting there thinking the worst case scenario? Thinking the worst case scenario is not worthy of your time, nor is it worthy of your imaginal effort. Well, why not? Because that's not what you actually want. If you wanted the worst case scenario and you got it, you wouldn't say, oh my God, why does this happen to me? Because you put it there. So make sure that as a creator, you are creating what is lovely. Neville reminds us of what we're doing at all times. He says, listen, if you make something for a friend inside your mind and you give it to them and they say, oh my God, that is so beautiful, but you know what? I just can't take it. I wish I could, but I can't. It's so beautiful. Would you throw it away or are you going to keep it? There you have it. So if you're going to make something for someone, make sure that it is something, if refused, you would accept, because you're going to have to. Well, it's always return to sender, is it not? So when you take the time to create within your mind's eye an imaginal act, see, you are already worthy. So whatever you do will be worthy. It is, because you're the creator. But look at that thing you're creating. Is it lovely? Well, then carry on. If it's not lovely, even though your work is worthy because you are, it does not mean that that's what you actually want. And before you bring it to life, before you breathe life into it, when you look at it, you go, you know what? That's not going to be beneficial. Scrap that. Let me reshape it into something that is lovely. But you see, we're running around talking about, oh, I don't know if I deserve that. A creator creates just because it's a creator. Not because, is that good enough for me? That would be a human thing to do. To give it a give it its place and say, oh yes, it's worth this much. Oh no, but that's worth that much. If you are creating it and you're going to take the time to create it, well then, just because of that reason and because of what you are, that's the value it has. You're the one giving it life. So remember, when you have an imaginal act, it is telling you how you're going to behave physically in the external, as within, so without. So don't think that the imaginal act is pretend. It is not pretend, it is rehearsal. You are rehearsing. Why? Because you should be prepared, should you not? If you are being deliberate to create, then rehearse. But you see, what tends to happen is because we don't know we're planting the seeds, we don't know how we're going to act. Why don't we know? Because we didn't rehearse it. So we're just acting on the fly, willy-nilly, but be deliberate in that imaginal act, because it tells you to experience in imagination what you would experience in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be. That's what it says. That's what Neville says day in and day out. So, what are you imagining? Because remember, it does not stay within the confines of your brain. It doesn't stay in there. How do you know it doesn't stay in there? Well, we have the law of gender that tells us we generate an idea and then we project it outward, because it has to be projected into a womb so that all the necessary components can come together to give it form. That's what the law says. But science, because science must bear witness, science tells us that what happens is we, right, when we put that little cap on and they hook up the little probes to the computer, if that thing stayed within your mind's eye, the computer would not be able to pick it up. But what is the computer picking up when you put that cap on? The waves that you are projecting outward. You see, you don't see them with the naked eye. We do not see our projected thoughts with our naked eyes at first. Of course, until they take shape, right? Then we see them. But because we say, well, I can't see it, then it must not be real. The computer is telling you, dude. Remember the scientist telling the athlete, okay, here's what we're going to do, George. We're going to run, or here's what we're going to do, Usain. I'm going to put this cap on your head and hook it up to the computer, and you're going to run the race in your mind's eye. That's all you're going to do. You just sit there and run the race in your mind's eye. The computer picks up every single activity that is happening as he runs that race. And wouldn't you know it, all of the muscles that he would have used physically, they acted as though we couldn't see them because his legs weren't moving, but they were doing something. They were firing chemically, electrically, they were firing. That's why the computer was able to pick them up. But is that not an invisible thing? If we unplug the cap from the computer and he still runs that race, you and I don't see him because he's not moving, is he? No, he isn't. But if you plug it back in, you will see the evidence of what he's doing. His brain activity tells you what he's doing. As within, so without. So your imaginal act that you rehearse is not pretend. It is not make believe. When you have an argument with your boss in your mind and you cuss him or her out and tell them about their mama, that is not pretend. So, when we are being deliberate, and Neville says, listen, experience what you would experience that in your imagination, what you would experience in reality. Get in there and do it. Like the woman, she would run down the stairs in her mind's eye. She'd run down the stairs in her mind's eye and rip open the door. Run down the stairs, rip open the door. Run down the stairs, rip open the door. It looks as if nothing is happening. But you see, she knew the desired effect, which is what you and I are doing when we create our imaginal act. We know the desired effect we would like to experience. And because we are faithful and persist, like she did, running down the stairs, ripping open the door. Listen, what we were not told in the story is how many times that doorbell rang. Maybe she had deliveries. Maybe she had guests come over. But the doorbell was always being rung. The doorbell was always being rung. But she was ready for the doorbell. She knew the desired effect was to run down the stairs, rip open the door. What is your desired effect? You see, now the cause, because every effect has its cause. So, because you know the effect, you're going to bring about the cause. And this is the part that we struggle with. Well, how is that cause going to look? Be faithful to the effect. The cause shows up because the cause cannot travel without its companion. Try as you might, it will not travel without its companion. Every cause has its effect, and every effect its cause. It does not travel alone. If you are experiencing something, something caused it. And if you're fooling around with the cause, you're going to bring about the effect. They just come together as they're a pair. So do not take that imaginal act for granted. You're not pretending, you're not making believe, you're not just being fanciful. No, you are rehearsing what you are going to experience in the physical. And because you can't see it just yet does not mean it is not taking shape. Again, the evidence of the cap and the probes hooked up to the computer is telling you there's something going on. And it's funny though, they can tell you what your thoughts are based upon your brain activity. I wonder why they would be able to do that. Because you must bear witness. You must see the contents of your own mind. That's why they can pick up the brain activity. So, oh my God, what a coincidence. I didn't know science was so forward thinking. Science is bearing witness. It's telling you what's happening by way of law. So if you know the law, you can understand even the greatest depths of science. Right? So do not take for granted today your imaginal activity, especially the ones you have persistently. Don't take those things for granted, please. Well, exactly, Marquise. The signs lead us to what's already there. And what's already there could not have happened if it was not already within. Right? So, remember what you are doing when you rehearse in your mind's eye. You are deliberately showing yourself, oh, look, there's my harvest. You'll know exactly what it looks like. Remember that that's what you're doing. You're constantly bearing witness to the contents of your own mind. You and I. So you see what it does to us. It keeps us on the up and up. How so? Remember what Neville said when he was explaining the story about adultery. He said, when you contemplate something, there's usually an impulse that follows. You can resist the impulse. You don't have to follow through with the impulse. Well, why not? He gives you the example. He says, well, okay, look, if I go into this bank and I rob it, I don't want to go to prison. So you don't follow through with the impulse. You don't rob the bank. You can squish the impulse. Right? We can do that. Revision, isn't it? So today, my beautiful friends, when you are sitting in your quiet time or you're doing your mundane tasks, the things you can do with your eyes closed, and the mind is free, remember that those imaginal acts, especially the ones that you persist in having over and over and over again, You know, our memories, we go in there, we just poke around, and you have that memory. And you see, the moment you touch it, it makes you feel something. You're like, oh, and you start to feel the pain of it again, or you feel the joy of it again, all depending on the type of memory you've just been poking around with. But what are you doing with that memory? Experiencing in imagination what you would experience in reality. That's what you're doing with the memory. So be bold, because it keeps us honest, you know. Because if you say, you know what, I don't want to experience that, well, then you're not going to do it. You will select another imaginary act. It is only called imaginary because it is from the imagination. So you will choose another one and say, oh, well, this one is better because this is actually the way I want to act. Relax, sweet boy. Whew. Give it some time. Ponder it. Contemplate what I've said so that the next time you are sitting there and entertaining thoughts that you think stay within your mind, think about what you are actually doing. This is why Neville can tell you memories don't stay in the past. They come forward because we keep reanimating them. Every time we go back, we bring them forward with us so that we see the contents of our own mind and we get to relive it over and over and over and over again. Let us take a quick moment, shall we, to welcome everyone into the space today. And let's go. I see you. It's symmetric. Love Troll is in the house and driving tea. Hey, hey, hey. Twitter, y'all are bumping today. It is good to see you all. Thank you for being here and spending your time with us. I won't keep us long. We'll get the bowl shortly. YouTube and Facebook. Hello, Jeff, A-Not, Miss Trina Bean. It's good to see you all here on YouTube and Facebook. Well, you're the ones who've made yourselves known in the chat. For the others, I see you. Fan base who's here this morning. Hello, Jay, Commander, Web. Oh, wait. Web Easy? Yes. Miss Deborah. Happy is in the house. Brina Seafood Boils, welcome. Welcome. I have never said your name. So you're new to me. Afternoon Delight is in the house. Flo Smiles, Ali, Matthias, Miss Boricua, Joaquim, Oracle Treehouse, Marquise, Shea Butter. Wait for it, wait for it. Zola. Welcome back, sweet girl. It is beautiful to say your name. So, remember what I said. You're the creator. And those images you have in your mind, that's what you're creating. You ask yourself, is that what you want to put out into the world? Is that what you want to put out into the world? If not, revise it. If that's what you want to put out into the world, well, carry on and be faithful to that imaginal act, because inevitably it will harden into fact and you'll get to interact with it physically, right? Materially, because we are material, but we're also immaterial. So be encouraged. Don't take for granted what you're doing. Don't think, well, nothing is happening. Really? What do you think an ultrasound shows? Whether you've torn a ligament, whether there's a wee baby in there, the ultrasound shows you what? What is contained within. So we're always going to see what we have within ourselves. So make it beautiful. That's what we do. Make it beautiful. And we'll stop saying things like, oh my God, why is there so much pain in the world? Because we keep projecting it out there. So the way to change the exterior is to do what? Change the interior. Make better things on the inside so that they are worthy of being given life to. Your imaginal acts. Let me get the bowl. Ah, A.M. Amani, welcome. Let me get the bowl. Contemplate as you hear the bowl. You see that imaginal act that you've been tossing around in your mind's eye? Ask yourself, do I want to put that in the world? And if you don't want to put it out there, change that imaginal act and then persist in it. What are you persisting in? You are just like the woman running down the stairs and flinging open the door over and over and over again until when she flings open that door, she sees who she wants to see on the other end. All you're doing is rehearsing how I'm going to say it again. Experience in imagination what you would experience in reality if you were the man or the woman you said you wanted to be. How would you act if that thing were real on the outside? Then that is what you are rehearsing. So you're not rehearsing. Is it there yet? Are we there yet? How come it's not here? It's taking so long. That's not what you're rehearsing. Because if you rehearse that, well, then you already know what you will get. You already know what that imaginal act entails on the outside. So this is why every time doubt or worry should whisper, hey, are you sure you're doing the right thing? Are you sure you're doing this right? Anytime you hear that, go back to the imaginal act that you are deliberately creating and rehearse it. Remember, running down the stairs, because that's what she would naturally do to welcome her brother home. After he rang the doorbell, she would race down the stairs and rip open the door and hug him and kiss him and squeeze him and call him George. That's what she would do. So, what would you do? What would you do in reality? Well, then, rehearse it in your imagination. That is what we are already doing. We're just not aware of what we're doing. And the key is to always be aware. Do not forget yourself. Always pay attention. What am I doing? Why am I doing that? Catch yourself. And you'll learn how to revise on the spot. Ooh, I don't want to think like that. Let me think like this instead. Persistently. Oh, but I don't know how to be persistent. Yes, you do. You are already being persistent. Think about the inner conversations you are already having. You didn't have it once today. How many times did you have that conversation today? See? Persistent. You already know how to be persistent. So, contemplate as you hear the bowl this morning and possible bird song. Contemplate. Do you want to put that out in the world? If yes, rehearse it. If not, choose another thing and rehearse that instead. Let us get the bowl. Oh, and if you're driving, the only thing you should be contemplating is traffic signals and everything else on the road. But when you have quiet time, when you make quiet time, then you contemplate in a safe place at all times. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Twitter, Driving Tea, Love Troll, it's symmetric. And let's go. I thank you all for being here. Yes, and so does he. Oh, Lord. Um, YouTube, Facebook, Jeff, A.M. Amani, A. Not, Miss Trina Bina, and the others who've not made themselves known. Oh, Lord, child, come now. You cannot defeat me. Sorry. Remember, if you are a member on either Patreon or YouTube, Thursdays, I will make a video for you based upon the questions that you ask. Where if you say, well, I'm stuck here, ... submit that into me via DM, whatever platform you're on. And Thursdays, that will be a private link. And I will send it out to you. That's every Thursday. So you've got 2 days to get that thing into me so I can post it for you on Thursdays. Either you are a YouTube member or a Patreon member. All right, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, you know I love you. I will see you tonight, 10:45 p.m. for the reading of the lecture. I don't remember which one it is, but I'll see you tonight. Okay, 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 okay. 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Much love to you, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I love you.